Welcome to the news at 6 on MITV. I am Jumoke Michaels. President-elect Asiwaju Bola Tinubu has raised the alarm over plots by some aggrieved partisans to truncate the transition process, particularly his expected swearing-in on May 29. Tinubu, in a statement by his Director, Public Affairs and Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Festus Keyamo, also warned the presidential candidates of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, and that of the Labour Party, LP, Mr. Peter Obi, against taking to the streets while also pursuing their cases in court. In the statement issued Saturday in Abuja, the president-elect noted that those who have taken to the streets protesting against his mandate are fixated on having an interim national government, ING. The statement noted that on many occasions after the declaration of Tinubu as the winner of the election, his public speeches and utterances have centered on reconciliation, forgiveness, and a greater vision for Nigeria. It added that the president-elect knows those who are sponsoring violent protests against his mandate, as well as their sponsors from within and outside Nigeria, and shall be working closely with the security agencies to apprehend them and bring them to book. In another development, the Court of Appeal Abuja has dismissed a case by People's Democratic Party PDP seeking the disqualification of Bola Tinubu and Kassim Shettima as the presidential and vice presidential candidates of the All Progressives Congress APC in the February 25 election. The PDP had urged their appellate court to reverse the January 13 judgment by Justice Inyang Eko of the Federal High Court Abuja, which dismissed its suit on the grounds that the PDP lacked local standing to have instituted the suit. In the unanimous judgment, a three-member panel of the Court of Appeal, led by Justice James Abundaga, held that the PDP failed to establish its local standing. Justice Abundaga agreed with the submissions of lawyers to the respondents, including Thomas Ojo of Lateef Fagbemi and co., described the PDP as a busybody who dabbled into issues that are internal affairs of the APC. Respondents in the appeal are the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, the APC, Tinubu, and Shettima. Still on politics, the 2023 general elections will not be concluded until all petitions at the election tribunals are decided, which may take months before they are concluded ahead of transition to the incoming administration. This was the submission of a chieftain of the Labour Party and its senatorial candidate for Lagos West at the elections, Moshood Salvador, while speaking in Lagos on the 2023 elections, which produced some upsets in some states. Salvador said the nature of this year's election will prompt a high number of cases at the tribunal, pointing out that the end of the election petitions will signify the conclusion of the 2023 general elections. The Labour Party chieftain also wondered why a politician will dump a political party and defect to another one to claim its presidential ticket without adherence to the Electoral Act and the party's constitution.
Respect Nigerians. I respect Nigerians, I repeat. We are lessons to the world. They should stop comparing us with America, with UK. We are better than any nation in the world.
How?
It is only in Nigeria. It's only Nigeria that can be suffering from something and you see him smiling and strategizing. You can see the level of strategy. And they call them support groups. They call them this. They call them that. They say they don't have structure. You can see how they performed. That is enough for anybody in the whole world. It cannot happen in America. They will all carry gun. If you go to UK, it will not happen like that in all those places. Government will suppress them. We are better.
Permanent election observers during the March 18 governorship and House of Assembly elections in Ogun State have called for cancellation of the polls in the state over incidences of violence, vote buying, and disenfranchisement of voters. The observers, under the aegis of civil societies and non-governmental organizations, NGOs, also said in order to save the country's democracy from collapsing, the elections must not be accepted by Nigerians. Speaking at a press conference in Abeokuta, the state capital, the national coordinator of the observers, Salako Oluroti, insisted that the polls were short of Nigerians' expectations, hence the need for cancellation and another conducted. She said with the present situation of the country, her leaders must consider the stability and security of the country as paramount as against vested interest.
Were touched by arsonists and vandals. Election materials were destroyed in many polling units. Violence on the scale we saw on March 18 couldn't have possibly allowed for any semblance of fair election. In fact, all the serious elections observers have noted the commission notes that despite the much needed reform to the Electoral Act 2022, the election fell well short of Nigerian citizens. Reasonable expectations, logistical challenges, and multiple incidents of political violence overshadowed the electoral process and impeded a substantial number of voters from participating. That no matter the situation in our country, all leaders must consider the stability and security of the country as paramount. Our country is bigger than any individual and is certainly more important than any vested interest. To save our democracy and our country, the present election result must not be accepted by Nigerians and by all friends of Nigeria. We are therefore calling for the cancellation of 2023 governorship election.
Away from politics, the delay of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, in complying with the Supreme Court judgment on the old 200, 500, and 1,000 naira notes as legal tender till December 31, 2023, has continued to receive knocks from stakeholders in the polity. In a judgment, the Supreme Court in March 3rd ordered that all 200, 500, and 1,000 naira notes remain in circulation till December 31, 2023. But it took the CBN about 10 days to comply with a court order after the presidency had issued a statement that the Apex Bank had no excuse than to abide by the topmost court in the country. Legal practitioners Makinde Ogunleye and Wale Ogunde berated the CBN for not complying, for the delay in complying with the Supreme Court order, pointing out that such inaction is failure of rule of law in Nigeria. A civil rights activist, Nelson Ekujumi, shared their views while pointing out that such delay is tantamount to disobedience to constituted authorities in the country.
When the Supreme Court makes a statement, it's the higher court of the land. It's all called it's only the constitution that is above the Supreme Court when it makes its own judgment, because it derives its own power from the grand norm, which is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I believe the CBN, like any other agency, government, bodies, or individual, should comply with any judgment of the Supreme Court, because failure to do that will merely lead to anarchy. Because when there's a court judgment and refuse to adhere to it, if everybody refuses to adhere to the judgment of the court, there will be anarchy and there will be serious problem in the country.
The vehicle through which they can do it further is the refusal to obey the Supreme Court under the guise of waiting for the president to give the directive. And they know, and they are educated to that level, to know that a court order, particularly from the Supreme Court, is not subject to further discussion. If there is going to be any discussion in form of appeal, it must be to that court again or to a higher court. Of course, they can approach the Supreme Court again for it to rescind its decision, sitting on appeal on on its own judgment.
Comply with that order shows the total lack of respect for the rule of law. It shows the disdain of the CBN to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That action by the CBN that they had to wait until the presidency issued a statement disclaiming that they were the ones that ordered the CBN or directed the CBN not to comply with the Supreme Court judgment is a testament, to the irresponsibility and irresponsiveness and the lack of respect for the Constitution of Nigeria by the CBN governor.
Up next is foreign news after this break. At least 23 people have died after a tornado tore through the U.S. state of Mississippi, with the mayor of Rolling Fork saying that the town had been devastated by the storm. More people are thought to be trapped under rubble as the twister caused devastation in several rural towns where trees and power lines were torn down. Hail the size of golf balls and heavy rainfall were reported in several areas of the state. We'll take another break to bring you sport news. The Qatari Investment Group have submitted their improved takeover offer using the club's extended deadline to send a detailed bid. Fabrizio Romano has reported that the group are confident and they believe the bid is the best one for the club, fans and local community. It's expected the Glazers are holding out for the figure in excess of £7.3 billion after the bids were submitted this week, following visits to Old Trafford by Sheikh Jassim's representatives, as well as rival bidder Sir Jim Ratcliffe. After some confusion earlier in the week, with both bidders appearing to miss the initial Wednesday deadline set by United, it's now clear that all the bids have been submitted. And that's the news at 6. Thanks for staying with us. I am Jumoke Michaels. Good evening.